Admiral Kazak stood on the command deck of the Zthrian warship Dominance, his four eyes fixed on the holographic display of a small blue planet. Earth, as its inhabitants called it. So much water, so many resources, and yet so little protection. It seemed almost too easy. "Why has no one claimed this world yet?" he asked, his scaled fingers tapping against the metal railing. 17 systems we have conquered, and not once have we found an untouched world so rich in resources. Commander Vexer, his second in command, stepped forward. "Our intelligence is unclear, Admiral. The data suggests several advanced civilizations have approached this solar system over the centuries, but none have attempted invasion or colonization. It is unusual." Kazak turned all four of his eyes toward Vexor. "Unusual? It is suspicious. Have the long-range scanners detected any defense systems, any evidence of advanced technology?" "Nothing beyond primitive satellite networks and basic space stations," Vexor replied. "Their most advanced weapons are nuclear missiles that would barely damage our smallest ships. Their detection systems cannot even identify our presence at this distance." Kazak returned his gaze to the hologram, zooming in on the continents, the cities, the evidence of a civilization that had barely reached into its own orbit. Something didn't add up. The galaxy was full of predator species, expansionist empires, like their own. Why would they all ignore such a prize? "Bring me the humans," he ordered. Minutes later, two figures entered the command deck. They walked like Zthrians, spoke like Zthrians, but their skin lacked scales, and they had only two eyes each. Captain Aaron Miller and Lieutenant Grace Parker had been taken from Earth 30 years ago during a routine abduction mission. Unlike most specimens, they had adapted well to life among the Zthrians, eventually earning positions in the intelligence corps. "You called for us, Admiral?" Miller asked, standing at attention. His accent still carried traces of his original language, despite decades of speaking the Zthrian tongue. "Your world," Kazak said, gesturing to the hologram. "Tell me why it remains unconquered." The two humans exchanged glances. "We've been away a long time, Admiral," Parker said. "Earth had no contact with alien civilizations when we left. At least none that the public knew about." Kazak made a dismissive gesture. "Not your limited knowledge of alien contact. I want to know why other species avoid your world. Our scouts report warning beacons at the edges of your solar system. Not human beacons, much older, much more advanced." Miller frowned. "This is the first we're hearing of this, sir." "Of course it is," Kazak hissed. "Your kind barely understands how to leave your own atmosphere. You wouldn't notice the subtle signs that keep predators at bay." He turned to face them fully. "I am assigning you both a mission of critical importance to the Empire." Both humans straightened their posture. "You will return to Earth. You will integrate into human society. You will discover why your world remains untouched by galactic powers. Find out what protection it enjoys, and how we might overcome it." Parker looked concerned. "Sir, after 30 years? We may not fit in anymore. Earth society will have changed." "Then you will adapt," Kazak said coldly. "You have served in our intelligence operations for decades. This should be simple by comparison, returning to your own kind." Miller nodded. "We'll need updated information on Earth culture, sir, and a suitable cover story for our reappearance." "All arranged," Commander Vexor said, handing them each a data tablet. "You will be inserted in a region called Colorado. Your cover identities are as siblings returning from working abroad. We have created appropriate documentation and digital histories. You leave in 6 hours." As Miller and Parker reviewed their mission parameters, Kazak turned to a different display showing a small fleet of scout ships approaching the edge of Earth's solar system. "While our human assets conduct their investigation, we will perform our own tests," he said quietly to Vexor. "Send 3 scout ships past the warning beacons. Let us see what happens when we ignore these mysterious warnings." Vexor looked uncomfortable. "Admiral, if there is indeed some force protecting this world, then we should know its nature before committing our invasion fleet," Kazak finished. "I am not proposing we attack blindly, Commander. merely that we probe for weaknesses. 3. Days later, Aaron Miller felt Earth soil beneath his feet for the first time in 3 decades. The Zthrian dropship had left them in a remote forest outside of Denver, along with supplies and currency to establish their new lives. Earth air smelled different than he remembered, sweeter, less processed than the recycled atmosphere of Zthrian ships. "I never thought we'd come back," Grace said beside him, her eyes scanning the tree line. "I had accepted that I would die among the stars." Aaron nodded. "Does any of it feel familiar to you?" "Not really," she admitted. "I was 22 when they took me. I'm 52 now. Everything feels, smaller." They made their way to the road where a car waited for them, an autonomous electric vehicle, pre-programmed with their new address. As they drove toward civilization, both were struck by how much and how little had changed. The buildings were taller, the vehicles sleeker, but people still walked their dogs, still gathered in parks, still lived their lives unaware of the vastness of the galactic community. Their new home was a modest 2-bedroom house in a suburb of Denver. The Zthrian attention to detail was impressive. Family photos had been digitally altered to include them, mail with their names was waiting, and the refrigerator was stocked. "How long do you think we have before the invasion?" Grace asked as they settled in. Aaron looked out the window at the peaceful street. "Depends on what we find. And what those scout ships discover. Kazakh isn't one to wait long, though." "And where do our loyalties lie now?" she asked quietly. Aaron didn't answer. Immediately. 30 years was a long time. He had built a life among the Zthrians, had even come to respect certain aspects of their culture. But standing on Earth again, watching a mother push a stroller down the sidewalk, hearing birds sing in trees. "Let's just focus on the mission," he finally said. "Find out why Earth has been left alone all these years." That night, as they slept in their separate rooms, a notification came through on their Zthrian communicators. The message was brief and encoded, but its meaning was clear. All 3 scout ships sent to test Earth's defenses had gone silent. No distress signals, no debris detected. They had simply vanished. On the Dominance, Admiral Kazakh ordered a second wave of scouts to investigate. Whatever protected Earth, the Zthrian Empire would not be so easily deterred. The invasion planning would continue, and on Earth, Aaron Miller dreamed of stars and ships and ancient eyes watching from the darkness. Between worlds, tomorrow the real investigation would begin. The morning sun filtered through unfamiliar curtains as Aaron Miller opened his eyes. For a moment, he forgot where he was. His hand reached instinctively for the scaly texture of his Zthrian sleeping mat, but instead touched soft cotton sheets. He was back on Earth. In the kitchen, he found Grace already awake, studying a tablet filled with local news reports. "Sleep well?" she asked without looking up. "Well enough," Aaron replied, pouring himself a cup of coffee. The taste was stronger than he remembered. "Anything useful in the news?" Grace shook her head. Nothing obvious. No mentions of aliens or mysterious disappearances near the edge of the solar system. If Earth is protected by something powerful enough to destroy Zthrian scout ships, the general public doesn't know about it. Aaron nodded, looking out the window at their new neighbors, starting their day. "We need to make contact with military or scientific authorities. That's where we'll find answers." "I've been working on that," Grace said. "There's a research facility about 30 miles from here. Boulder Advanced Sciences Lab. According to public records, they study atmospheric anomalies and space weather. Could be a cover for something more interesting." "Good place to start. How do we get in?" Grace smiled. "I've already applied for a job in their administrative department. The Zthrians created excellent false credentials for us." "I have an interview tomorrow." Aaron raised an eyebrow, impressed. "And me? You'll be making friends with the locals, starting with our neighbor across the street, John Rivers, retired Air Force colonel." Later that morning, Aaron found himself helping John Rivers fix a broken sprinkler system. The older man had a weather-beaten face and strong hands that spoke of a lifetime of work. "Appreciate the help," John said as they dug around the buried water line. "Not many neighbors would jump in like this, especially new ones." Aaron shrugged. Happy to help. I've been away from the States for a long time. Nice to feel useful. Overseas. Work? Your sister said? Yeah, private security and consulting all over Europe and Asia. The cover story flowed easily from Aaron's lips. The Zthrians had trained him well. Military background? John asked, eyeing Aaron with new interest. How could you tell? John laughed. Takes one to know one. The way you stand, the way you assess situations. Old habits die hard. Aaron smiled. This was the opening he needed. You serve? Air Force. 30 years. Retired as a colonel 5 years ago. Must have seen some interesting things in 30 years of service. John's expression changed subtly. Some things I can talk about. Some I can't, that's the nature of the job. I understand security clearances, Aaron said. Had a few myself over the years. They worked in silence for a few minutes before John spoke again. You ever see anything you couldn't explain while you were overseas? Something that made you question what you thought you knew? Aaron looked up, surprised by the question. I might have. Why do you ask? John wiped sweat from his brow. Just curious. The world's a strange place, bigger than most people realize. Before Aaron could probe further, John's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned. Rain check on the rest of this repair? Something's come up I need to handle. No problem, Aaron said, watching as John hurried inside his house. Through the window, Aaron could see him making a call, his expression serious. Meanwhile, at the Zthrian command ship, Admiral Kazak received disturbing news. The second wave of scout ships sent to investigate the disappearances had found only debris, scattered molecules where 3 advanced warships should have been. Analysis? Kazak demanded. A science officer stepped forward. The pattern of molecular dispersion suggests the ships were destroyed by some form of directed energy weapon, Admiral. But the energy signature doesn't match any known technology. In our database, could it be Earth technology, some secret defense system? Unlikely, Admiral, the officer replied. The energy patterns contain elements that exceed even our theoretical understanding of physics. Whatever destroyed our ships is beyond our current science. Commander Vexor, who had been silent until now, spoke up. We've intercepted a communication from a passing Nebulon trading vessel, Admiral. They detected our presence in this sector and sent a message intended for any nearby ships. Show me, Kazak ordered. A holographic message appeared, showing a nervous Nebulon captain. Attention, unknown vessels near Sol system. You are approaching restricted space. The 3rd planet is under protection of the Watchers. No contact, no interference permitted. Ignore at your peril. We lost 3 ships to them in the Great Cycle 887. There were no survivors. Kazak's expression darkened. The Watchers? What? Are these Watchers? Unknown, Admiral, Vexor admitted. But we're finding references to them in other intercepted communications. Many species seem aware of them, but information is sparse. They appear to be some form of ancient species or collective that has declared Earth off limits. Back on Earth, Grace returned from her job interview looking troubled. I got the position, she told Aaron. Start tomorrow. But something strange happened during the interview. What? Aaron asked, putting down the local map he'd been studying. When the interviewer stepped out to make a copy of my ID, I noticed a file on her desk. It was labeled Protocol Omega. I only caught a glimpse, but it contained images of what looked like Zthrian ships. Aaron's eyes widened. Are you sure? Positive. And there was a date stamp on the file. Yesterday's date. They know about the scout ships, Aaron said quietly. Someone on Earth knows the Zthrians are here and is tracking their movements. That night, as they discussed their findings, Aaron's phone rang. It was John Rivers. Hey, neighbor, John said, his voice casual. Got some friends coming over for a barbecue tomorrow. Veterans mostly. Thought you and your sister might like to. Join us. Get to know some locals. Sounds great, Aaron replied. We'll be there. After hanging up, Aaron turned to Grace. I think we're being watched. That was too convenient. Should we abort? Contact the ship? Aaron shook his head. No. This is exactly what we need. These people know something. Tomorrow, we find out what. As darkness fell over Earth, neither Aaron nor Grace noticed the brief flicker of light in the night sky, a pattern of stars that shifted momentarily before returning to normal. High above, something ancient and patient observed the small blue planet and the new visitors who had come seeking its secrets. In the vast blackness of space, Admiral Kazak made his decision. He would not be deterred by ghost stories of watchers. He ordered a fleet of 100 warships to prepare for arrival in Earth's solar system. Whatever protected this world would soon face the full might of the Zthrian Empire. The next day arrived with clear skies and a sense of purpose. Aaron and Grace prepared for their separate missions. She for her first day at the research facility, he for the barbecue at John Rivers' house. Both felt the weight of what was at stake. Be careful, Aaron told Grace as she gathered her things. If they have files on Zthrian ships, they might be looking for infiltrators. Grace nodded. You too. These military types John's bringing over, they could be counterintelligence. Don't let your guard down. They parted ways, each heading into unknown territory. The Boulder Advanced Sciences Lab impressed Grace with its modern design and tight security. After receiving her badge and completing orientation, she was shown to a desk in the administrative department. Her job seemed simple enough, processing research requests and managing schedules. The perfect position for gathering information. During her lunch break, Grace casually explored the facility. Most doors required special access, but she noted the layout, the security patterns, the conversations that stopped when she walked by. Everyone seemed on edge. In the break room, she met Olivia Chen, a researcher with tired eyes and a friendly smile. First day? Olivia asked, pouring coffee. That obvious, huh? Grace replied with a practiced laugh. We don't get many new faces. Olivia lowered her voice. Especially not since the incident. Grace raised an eyebrow. Incident? Olivia seemed to catch herself. Nothing, just budget cuts, you know how it is. She quickly changed the subject, but Grace filed away the slip. Something had happened here recently. Meanwhile, Aaron arrived at John Rivers' backyard to find a gathering of about a dozen people. Most were men in their 50s and 60s with the confident bearing of career military. John greeted him warmly. Aaron, glad you could make it. Where's your sister? New job, Aaron explained. Couldn't get away. John nodded and introduced him around. General Frank Dawson retired. Colonel Pete Sandoval. Major Ellen Wright. All former high-ranking officers from different branches of the military. Aaron noticed they all wore the same small pin on their collars, a simple blue circle. The conversation flowed naturally at first. War stories, complaints about civilian life, discussions of current events. Aaron played his part perfectly, sharing edited versions of his supposed overseas experiences. He felt they were testing him, watching for inconsistencies in his story. After an hour, General Dawson pulled him aside. John says you've spent most of your adult life abroad. That's right, Aaron confirmed. Private security work mostly. And before that? Army. 8 years. Nothing special. Dawson studied him. You ever see anything strange while you were deployed? Anything that couldn't be explained by conventional means? The same type of question John had asked yesterday. Aaron decided to take a risk. Maybe. Why do you ask? Dawson exchanged glances with John. Just curious what a worldly man like yourself makes of recent events. What events would those be? Aaron asked innocently. Before anyone could answer, every phone at the gathering buzzed simultaneously. The mood shifted instantly as the men and women checked their devices. We need to cut this short, John announced. All pretense of casual hospitality gone. Sorry folks, duty calls. As the gathering quickly dispersed, Aaron caught sight of what was on John's phone. A notification with the words, Omega Protocol Stage 2, and an image that looked like Mars. Back at the research facility, similar alarms were sounding. Grace watched as Olivia and other researchers rushed to secure terminals and gather in conference rooms. Through the glass walls, she could see urgent discussions and frightened faces. When Grace returned to her desk, her supervisor was waiting. "Ms. Parker, your security clearance has been expedited. The director wants all hands on deck for this situation." He handed her a new badge, one with blue trim. "What situation?" Grace asked. "Briefing in 5 minutes. Conference room C, inside." The packed conference room. Grace saw a large screen showing what appeared to be satellite imagery of Mars, and in orbit around it, unmistakable Zthrian warships. The facility director, Dr. Alan Nash, stood at the front of the room. "For those just joining us, 30 minutes ago, our deep space monitoring detected a fleet of unidentified craft establishing orbit around Mars. Based on their configuration, they match the vessels observed during the 2047 Quebec incident and yesterday's outer system encounter." Grace's heart raced. The humans not only knew about aliens, they had been tracking the Zthrians specifically. Dr. Nash continued. "Protocol Omega is now at Stage 2. All personnel should prepare for potential Stage 3 escalation. We've already notified the appropriate channels." A young researcher raised his hand. "Sir, should we attempt communication?" Dr. Nash's expression was grim. "That's not our decision to make. If history is any indication, they will communicate when they're ready." Grace realized with a sudden shock that Dr. Nash wasn't talking about the human authorities. He was talking about something else entirely. In space, Admiral Kozak stood on the bridge of his flagship, now orbiting the red planet the humans called Mars. This was a statement of power, a show of force. From here, they could observe Earth's reaction to their presence. "Any response from the humans?" he asked. "None, Admiral," Commander Vexor reported. "Their primitive detection systems have undoubtedly spotted us, yet they've launched no ships, sent no transmissions. It's unusual." "Perhaps they know they are outmatched," Kozak suggested. "Or perhaps they're waiting," Vexor said quietly. "For what?" "For whoever destroyed our scout ships." That evening, Aaron and Grace reunited at their house, both bursting with information. "They know," Grace said immediately. "The research facility has been monitoring Zthrian ships. They called yesterday's scout ship destruction the outer system encounter." Aaron nodded. "The military veterans know too, something called Protocol Omega." "Yes, that's what they called it at the lab. They said it's now at Stage 2 because the fleet is orbiting Mars." Aaron paced the room. "But here's what I don't understand. There's no panic, no public announcements. If Earth detected an alien fleet in their solar system, why isn't there mass hysteria?" Grace sat down, her expression troubled. "Because they've seen this before. They mentioned something called the 2047 Quebec incident. And they're not preparing defenses," Aaron added. "They're waiting for something else to act." "The Watchers," Grace whispered. As darkness fell, they stepped outside to look at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Zthrian fleet waited at Mars. And beyond that, something ancient and powerful that even the Zthrians didn't understand. Aaron's communicator beeped, a message from the fleet. Admiral Kozak was growing impatient. The full invasion force would arrive within days. Time was running out to discover Earth's secrets. Aaron woke to the sound of his communicator buzzing urgently. The message was brief and direct. "Full fleet arrival in 18 hours. Report findings immediately." Admiral Kozak was done waiting. Across the room, Grace was already dressed and checking her new security badge. "I need to get back to the facility," she said. "With the Zthrian fleet at Mars, they've called in all staff. This might be our best chance to learn what Protocol Omega really is." Aaron nodded. "I'll try to reconnect with John Rivers. He and his military friends disappeared pretty quickly yesterday when those alerts came through." They shared a look of understanding. After 30 years serving the Zthrians, neither had expected to feel conflicted about their mission. Yet here, they were, uncertain about where their true loyalties should lie. "Be careful," Aaron said. "You too," Grace replied. And Aaron, "Whatever happens today, whatever we learn." "I know," he said softly. "Things are changing." When Grace arrived at the research facility, The atmosphere was tense but controlled. Everyone moved with purpose, and security had been doubled. Using her new clearance, she accessed areas that had been off limits before. In one laboratory, she found Olivia Chen analyzing data from deep space sensors. "More ships are coming," Olivia said without looking up. "Bigger ones." Grace kept her expression neutral. "How do you know?" "Pattern recognition. We've seen this behavior before. First come the scouts, then the observation vessels, then the main fleet." Olivia finally looked at Grace. The Quebec incident followed the same pattern. "I don't have clearance to know about Quebec," Grace said carefully. Olivia hesitated, then spoke quietly. "In 2047, a different alien ship, not like these ones, tried to land near Quebec. It never made it to the ground. Our military shot it down?" Olivia gave a strange smile. "No, we didn't do anything. They did." "They?" Before Olivia could answer, an alarm sounded through the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "Protocol Omega Stage 3, announced a calm voice over the speakers. "All personnel report to secure stations. This is not a drill." Olivia grabbed Grace's arm. "Come with me. The observation deck is the best place now." They hurried through crowded hallways until they reached a large room with wall-to-wall windows facing the sky. Dozens of researchers were already there, some with binoculars, others watching data feeds on tablets. "What are we looking for?" Grace asked. "Just watch," Olivia whispered. Meanwhile, Aaron had tracked down John Rivers at a small diner on the edge of town. The former colonel sat alone in a corner booth, nursing a cup of coffee and watching the sky through the window. "Mind if I join you?" Aaron asked. John didn't seem surprised to see him. "Figured you might show up. Sit." Aaron slid into the booth. "You left in a hurry yesterday. Had somewhere to be. Something to do with Omega Protocol?" John's eyes narrowed. "Where did you hear that term?" "I saw it on your phone," Aaron admitted. "And I'm guessing it has something to do with the ships currently orbiting Mars." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, John sighed. "You're not who you say you are you?" "Neither are you, I suspect." John nodded slowly. "I'm part of a group that monitors certain situations. The barbecue yesterday? Those weren't just veterans. We're all members of the Sentinel Project. After the Quebec incident, the world's governments quietly formed a response team for extraterrestrial contact." "And what exactly is your response?" Aaron asked. "I don't see missile launches or fighter jets scrambling." "Because those wouldn't help," John said simply. "We learned that the hard way in the beginning. Our weapons can't touch their ships." "Then, what's Protocol Omega?" John looked at his watch. "It's an observation and documentation protocol. We track incursions, we gather data, and we wait." "Wait for what?" "For them to handle it, like they always do." In space, Admiral Kazak stood proudly as the main Zthrian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 100 warships, the pride of the Empire, ready to claim Earth for the glory of Zthria. "Still no response from the humans?" he asked. "None, Admiral," reported Commander Vexor. "And still no sign of these supposed watchers that the intercepted communications mentioned. Superstition and psychological warfare," Kazak dismissed. "The weak always invent powerful protectors to frighten away the strong." Vexor looked unconvinced. "Admiral, the scout ships were destroyed by some Earth defense system we haven't identified yet," Kazak interrupted. "Nothing more. Begin the approach to the third planet. Full invasion protocols." The massive fleet began its move inward, past the orbit of Neptune, then Uranus. Back on Earth at the research facility observation deck, Grace watched as Dr. Nash addressed the gathered staff. "The main fleet has arrived," he announced grimly. "Based on their trajectory and speed, they will reach Earth orbit in approximately 3 hours. All Sentinel Project personnel worldwide are now on alert." "What about evacuation plans?" someone asked. Dr. Nash shook his head. "There's nowhere to evacuate to. If the Watchers don't intervene as they have in the past, we face a full-scale invasion." Grace felt a chill run down her spine. The humans were putting all their faith in these mysterious watchers. At the diner, Aaron's communicator buzzed again. He checked it discreetly and saw a message from Admiral Kozak, ordering all field agents to prepare for extraction before the invasion began. John noticed his reaction. Got somewhere to be? Aaron made a decision. John, I need to tell you something. Those ships, the ones coming to Earth, I know what they are. John's expression didn't change. You're one of them. Or working for them. It wasn't a question. Aaron nodded slowly. How long have you been on Earth? John asked. I am from Earth, Aaron said. Born in Kansas. But I was taken 30 years ago, along with others. We were repurposed. And now you're their spy. I was, but something's changed. Aaron leaned forward. John, you need to tell me about the Watchers. What are they? Why do they protect Earth? Before John could answer, both men noticed something strange happening outside. The afternoon sky was darkening, not like a storm, but as if the light itself was being bent and twisted. In space, as the Zthrian fleet passed the asteroid belt, instrument panels across multiple ships began to malfunction. Strange readings appeared and disappeared. Admiral, a sensor officer called out, voice trembling, we're detecting anomalies. What kind of anomalies? Kozak demanded. Space-time distortions, readings that don't make sense. It's as if the officer never finished his sentence. 3 Zthrian warships at the front of the formation simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, but completely removed from existence. What happened? Kozak roared. Where are those ships? Unknown, Admiral, Vexer replied, his voice shaking. They're just gone. On the observation deck of the research facility, everyone had fallen silent. The sky above had taken on a strange, rippling quality like the surface of water. It's starting, Olivia whispered to Grace. The Watchers are responding. Chaos erupted aboard the Zthrian flagship as more warships began to disappear. Not 3, not 5, but 7 more vanished in an instant, leaving no debris, no energy signatures, nothing to indicate they had ever existed. Evasive maneuvers. Admiral Kozak shouted, all ships defensive formations. But the Zthrian fleet's disciplined response fell apart as ship captains witnessed something none of their training had prepared them for. Objects appeared in space around them. Impossible structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Geometric patterns of light and dark matter that shifted and changed as if alive. What are these things? Commander Vexer whispered, his 4 eyes wide with terror. On the bridge screens, sensor officers struggled to explain what they were seeing. They don't register as ships, Admiral. They don't register as anything we can classify. Their energy signatures are beyond our understanding. Kozak had never known fear in battle, but he felt it now, a cold, primal dread that reached deep into his ancient reptilian brain. Open fire, he ordered, his voice hoarse. All weapons. Target those things. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes launched from dozens of Zthrian ships, directed at the strange objects. The weapons passed through them as if they weren't there, continuing into empty space. Another 5 warships vanished. On Earth, the sky continued to ripple and shift with strange colors. At the research facility observation deck, Grace stood transfixed along with everyone else, watching the heavens transform. Are those the Watchers? She asked Olivia. The scientist nodded. This is only a fraction of their presence in our reality. Most of what they are exists beyond our perception. What exactly are they? Dr. Nash answered from behind them. We don't know, not really. They've never communicated directly. Our best theory is that they're an ancient species, perhaps one of the first intelligent beings in the galaxy. They seem to consider Earth some kind of preserve. Like a wildlife sanctuary, Olivia added. A place where evolution can proceed without interference. Grace thought about her years with the Zthrians, about Admiral Kozak's fleet now facing something far beyond their understanding. And they protect Earth from all alien threats? They have every time, Dr. Nash confirmed. The Quebec incident was our first modern confirmation. but we've found historical evidence suggesting they've been doing this for thousands of years. At the diner, Aaron and John stood outside watching the strange sky. Other people had come out too, pointing and taking photos with their phones. Most people will think it's just weird weather or solar flares, John said. The governments will release some scientific explanation. Only those of us who know will understand what really happened today. Aaron's communicator was buzzing constantly. Now, desperate messages from the fleet, orders to report in, evacuation coordinates. He ignored them all. I should have told them, Aaron said quietly. I should have reported what we discovered. Would it have made any difference? John asked. Would your admiral have listened? Aaron shook his head. No, Kazak built his career on conquest. He would never have retreated based just on stories about ancient protectors. Sometimes things need to be seen to be believed. In space, the situation had become dire. 23 Zthrian ships were now gone, and the strange objects were multiplying. The remaining fleet attempted to retreat, engines at maximum power. On the flagship's bridge, Admiral Kazak watched in horror as a massive geometric shape, something like a sphere but with angles that shouldn't be possible, materialized directly in their path. Alter course, he screamed. No response from navigation systems, Admiral. An officer reported, panic in his voice. Nothing's working. Commander Vexer approached Kazak. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. From whom? The humans? No, Admiral. It appears to be coming from them. The bridge screens flickered, showing not images but pure patterns of light and mathematics, a language of shapes and equations beyond Zthrian comprehension. Yet somehow, impossibly, Kazak understood the message in his mind. This world is protected. You will leave. You will not return. You will tell others. As suddenly as they had appeared, the strange objects vanished. Ship systems returned to normal. The path for retreat was clear. Admiral Kazak, the great conqueror, slumped in his command chair. Order all remaining ships to withdraw from this system, he said, his voice hollow. Maximum speed, do not stop, do not look back. Commander Vexer didn't question the order. And our agents on Earth, sir? Kazak's expression hardened. We never returned to this place. They are on their own. 1 month later, Aaron and Grace sat on the porch of their house in Colorado watching the sunset. They were officially stranded on Earth now, their connection to the Zthrian Empire severed. Any regrets? Grace asked. Aaron considered the question. 30 years is a long time to serve something only to watch it flee in terror. That's not an answer. He smiled. No regrets. I think we're where we're supposed to be. A car pulled into their driveway. John Rivers and Dr. Nash. The two former Zthrian agents had spent the past month debriefing the Sentinel Project, sharing everything they knew about the Empire and other alien civilizations. Ready for the meeting? John asked as they approached the porch. Aaron nodded. Today they would brief the United Nations Security Council, a small group of world leaders who knew the truth about Earth's place in the galaxy. What will you tell them? Dr. Nash asked. The truth, Grace said. That we live in a universe full of predator species and expansionist empires, that Earth would have been conquered 100 times over if not for the Watchers. And that someday, we need to be ready to protect ourselves, Aaron added. The Watchers might not be here forever. As they drove to the airfield where a government plane waited, Aaron looked up at the evening sky. The stars were just becoming visible. Countless worlds, countless species, and somewhere out there, the ancient beings that had declared Earth, off limits to them all. The Zthrian Empire had learned why no one dared to attack Earth, and now humanity was beginning to understand it too. In the vastness of space, the remaining Zthrian ships limped home, carrying a message of warning that would spread across the galaxy. Stay away from the third planet of the unremarkable yellow star. What protects it is beyond understanding. What waits there is not worth the cost. And on Earth, life continued. People went to work, fell in love, argued, dreamed, and looked up at the stars, never knowing how close they had come to destruction, never suspecting the ancient eyes that watched over them, preserving their world as a rare place where life could evolve at its own pace, in its own way. into whatever it was meant to become.